Drumsticks, Chapter 2, by Ellen Pierce. Leaving by the back door. Barolong passed the following months in the streets, playing the tins, or drums, as they were to him. As the evening sky was just starting to turn yellow, he could be seen walking past the statue of Sir Karma, raising the dust of the park with his grimy trainers, while balancing the canisters deftly on his shoulder. He had established himself in an ideal tourist hotspot on the main street, closest to where all the expensive boutiques and popular cafes were. Every evening at around midnight he would return with a few coins in his pocket and his weary body glistening with sweat. He didn't get much money, and due to the habitual trances that he would go into while playing, the local children who were spying on him hidden from view in the alleyways would make the most of the moment by stealing any of the thrown coins that were just out of Barolong's sight. Occasionally he would waste the few coins he had in his pocket on some girl who had been allured by his uncontrolled distinctive rhythm. He would take them to the sleazy canteen that was just in front of his lodgings, and after having drunk away what little he had gained that night, he would guide her with his hands clasped firmly around her waist up the stairs to his room. It was here, in this canteen, where Alicia spoke to him for the first time. "Drumsticks?" she inquired. This was how he was becoming known as in the neighbourhood. At midday he would always go there to have a tea. He would sit huddled up in the far corner table with a view through the greasy window that looked as though it hadn't been washed since the last owners had had the place. He would sit there, eyes gazing through the window, lost in his own world, while the hustle and bustle of the day would pass by unnoticed. "Drumsticks?" she repeated. He continued drumming the teaspoon on the table to the beat that was in his head. He couldn't hear her. Alicia placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. He stopped abruptly, still holding the teaspoon in midair. He turned his head, eyes still dazed, to look at her. She sat down in front of him and looked deeply into his eyes and started slowly to explain that she had been watching him play for a few weeks and had become quite a fan of his talent, as she would repeatedly call it. Slowly, bit by bit, Alicia flattered him into making him feel special, gradually working up to the offer of a lifetime, of taking him to Europe. "That's where it's all happening," she whispered, dropping her head and leaning towards him as though telling him a big secret. "There are opportunities just for the taking of someone of your talent." She drew him in like a spider with a fly. Drumstick sat there, drinking it all in, his eyes lit up with the thought of playing in a real place with real drums. He felt as though all of his Christmases had come at once. Alicia sat back in her chair to watch him, confirming in an assertive voice. It was all set up. He would play in a club in Amsterdam for a few months before going on to London. He sat there in anticipation, hands frozen for the first time, but maintaining the teaspoon gripped between his thumb and index finger. She ended with the crowning point. He would get 30% of the earnings and an exclusive contract for 5 years. Looking very seriously at him, Alicia assured him that it really was a good offer, and that he should realize a better one wouldn't come along. With that, Barolong gave her a sidelong look, but didn't answer. Alicia stood up. Looking over her shoulder, she left a card on the table, and whilst walking to the door, she threw an exuberant amount of money on the counter for the teas.